Curtis Engineering Academy presents SOAR Intelligence Masterclass. You're about to listen to a life-transforming message by engineer Dr. Opoke Sunday. Transforming ordinary people to great leaders as agents of societal change. A visionary leader renowned for his commitment to transforming ordinary individuals into great leaders. His words have inspired countless individuals to rise and become agents of societal change. This isn't just another message, it's a divine appointment. Get ready to unlock new levels of insight and motivation that will shift your mindset and spark the leader in you. Greatness is not reserved for a select few, it's a journey for those who dare to believe, plan, and act. Take a deep breath, open your heart. The transformation starts here. That journey begins right now. You may now tune into the message.
Wealth creation is dependent on building a system. If you do not build a system, you can't create wealth. How do we mean? What do we mean by building a system? Because systems run on its own. In fact, the day your business starts running without you, that's the day you have started doing business. Anytime you're doing business and now business requires your presence all the time, you've not started doing business. You have started doing business when you build a system that runs on its own, even with or without you, especially without you. The more your business does not depend on you, the more that business is leading to financial freedom. In fact, all you have to be doing in your life is to build systems that generate money, that generate assets, that generate money. Either generate money directly or brings assets that generate money. Your mind is important in wealth creation or in financial decision. In fact, I want to tell us that as you're sitting down here, you can shift your mind from that poverty mentality to a wealthy man. Wealth is in the mind. That's why we wrote the book, Growing Rich Through Positive Thinking. I've read another book called Think and Grow Rich. I've read so many other books that is telling us that the poverty, why we are poor, is because of the way we think. Whatever level we find ourselves, it is dependent on the way we think. So our mindset is important. What's the difference between the mindset of an employee and the mindset of an investor? Because an employee may not want to take risk. He just want to get a job. After at the end of the month, he's being paid salary. So, but an investor may take risk. Invest his money. Sometimes it may not be the way he planned it. If you don't want to take risk, certainly risk will take you. Because many who has made it took risk. Anytime you want to make it in your life, prepare to take risk. That is the difference between those who are in the left and those who are in the right side of the quadrant. Those who are in the right side of the quadrant have something in common. Every investor takes risk. Every business owner takes risk. So that mindset of taking risk is important in financial decision. Next. Now, this is Opoke cash flow model. I want to understand this model. It's a new model we're introducing, but I want to understand it clearly. In life, there are stages of growth, stages of financial growth, and every stage you find yourself, it determines the kind of decision you take. Now, in this Opoke cash flow model, we have three major stages. First is survival cash flow. Survival cash flow. When you are at a certain stage in your life, where you are only trying to survive, there are people who are at that level. What do? They want to meet their daily needs. When you are still struggling on how to meet your daily needs, your decision is important. Your financial decision is important. You can't take a decision like a man who has built systems. You can't take a decision like a man who is stable. Because there are some people, if they don't go out, they can't eat. If they don't work, they can't eat. So if you are still at the stage of survival cash flow, What the primary thing is that you must try to meet your daily needs. Now there also be a stage of stability cash flow. At this stage, you are a little bit stable. Whether you go out or you don't go out, you are sure you will survive. But how long you survive depends on your decision. So certain people will call it comfort zone. I have another model I have proposed, which ranges from below poverty, comfort zone, rich zone, and wealthy zone. I will explain. There are people who are below poverty. Those people are called the needy. They cannot help themselves. They need people to help. That's why they are called the needy. Then there are people who are poor at the poverty level. They can help themselves with limitations. Now there are people who have moved from poverty to another state called comfort zone. You can call that comfort zone stable zone. At comfort zone, you can afford to take basic economic decisions because you're a little bit comfortable. You're a little bit stable. But the danger is, if you do not take risks and decisions to move from the comfort zone or stable zone, anything that happens to you, you drop to poverty zone. You drop to survival zone. That's the danger. Because there are people who maybe in your civil service job, your rank has risen to a point your salary is carrying you. You are training your children in school, send them to best of schools. You can afford to take flights, move anywhere. But the danger is, if that job leaves you, or you leave that job, what happens? So that's why it's important. The decision you take at every point in time matters. So if you're in a comfort zone, you're in a very dangerous zone. Some call you are a rich man, but you're not rich. Any temptation or trial can wipe you, can deal with you, and you become even very poor. That is why you see people after acquiring something, wealth, kind of temporarily, because they're taking wrong decisions. They have houses, they have cars. They have something that seems as if they are stable at the point. But because they are not intelligent enough to take intelligent financial decisions, because they have taken wrong or foolish financial decisions, you see them coming back to poverty. So it's important. Now, there is another stage called growth cash flow. At this stage, you are no longer thinking of how to survive. You have survived. You are stable. You are comfortable. At this stage, you begin to think of growth. I want also take it in another way you will understand it better. In life, if you want to succeed, you take these three decisions. First is called imitation stage. Imitation stage is where you are imitating people, where you are imitating systems, where you are imitating technology, where you are imitating things. After that stage, you move to another stage called iteration. Iteration stage is a stage you are now practicing what you have imitated. You are now practicing what you have learned, either from your mentor, from your teacher, from the system, or from wherever you are learning from. After that iteration stage, that you now move to the next stage called innovating stage. At the stage of innovation, you have learned it. You can now come around it and say, okay, if I do this and do this, I can grow, I can move, I can do better. All these technologies we see pass through all these stages. Sometimes, or even the system we are using today, they all had to come through these stages. Sometimes the investors or the inventors may come to a stage where they need to imitate someone. And they got to a point where they have learned it. They now innovate. When they innovate, they bring something looking different. Even though it is still the same thing, but they just innovated it. So when you go through imitation, iteration, and innovation, it is something like going through survival, stability, and growth. So any decision you take at any point in time at all these stages matters. It can bring you back, it can move you forward. But when you get to this growth, cash flow is a time of investment. Investing for the future. You're no longer thinking of how to survive today, you have survived. You're not thinking of tomorrow. Thinking of how to invest for tomorrow or for your generation and for your children and for your children's children. And what the core principle of Opoke cash flow model? There's a core principle. It's called financial discipline fuels financial multiplication. Financial discipline fuels financial multiplication. That's the core principle of Opoke cash flow model. Why do I propose this model? Robert Kiyosaki's model did not accommodate certain jobs, certain money-making ventures. We need to understand the difference between liability and asset. And what's the difference? Asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. Anything that puts money in your pocket is an asset. And anything that takes money away from your pocket is a liability. Your liability may be my asset. My asset may be your liability. Let me explain. Assuming you are a professional, you are an engineer, or a doctor, or a lawyer. You are a professional, for instance. So, as for one of the first things you do is to have mobility, buying a car. It's very, very important for a professional. Because you get a job, sometimes you lose jobs because of your inability to move, or probably the capacity. Because all people look at your capacity to give you a job. So they look at your capacity, and mobility is also part of capacity. And building confidence in someone that wants to give you money or give you a job. So as a professional, buying a car is not a liability. It's an asset. But if you're a stock owner, you just have a stock. Every month you come and park your car in front of your shop. And you go home and come back. That car is not an asset. That car is a liability. Because that car is not, it's just taking money from you. So you need to define what's a liability to you. Because what's a liability to you may be somebody's asset. What's a liability to somebody may be somebody's asset. So you need to be very careful. If you understand this simple definition, that liability is anything at all that takes money from your pocket and cannot generate money is a liability. And anything that can bring money into your pocket is an asset. So, now example of an asset is a real estate and investment. Now, why do we call real estate as an example of an asset? If you buy land today, you know that land appreciates. If you buy property, it appreciates. So because it appreciates, it's an asset because it's bringing money. No matter how long it takes. If you buy land, maybe 2 plots of land, 2025, maybe like 5 million. In 2027, you can sell like 10 million. So it's an asset, it's a money generating asset. It's not a liability, it's an asset. That's why real estate, we're going to go into real estate. Because property appreciates. Property appreciates. It's a very good business to go to real estate because your risk is limited. I know those who became millionaires by selling lands. They bought it cheap, and when they want to sell, they sold it exorbitantly. Because the land, there's no way, every land appreciates over time. So real estate is an example. And then investment. If you invest in bonds, invest in stock exchange, investment is an asset, because it is through investment that you also get into financial freedom. You cannot be financially free if you don't have an investment. So think of the investment, think of how you can invest so that at the end of it all, when you want to take a decision, you say, instead you be put to shame, you go and sell the land and you see money. Because you bought that land cheap, and this year you need too much money even to farm or to do other things. And nobody will give you, even if you go to bank, the rate they will give you is so exorbitant. Say, but I have a land. You go and sell it, and you have sold it higher than the price you bought it. That is investment. It's also in real estate. So anytime you invest, whether in real estate or in other businesses, that leads to financial freedom is a kind of financial intelligence. Remember, financial intelligence is taking wise financial decisions, irrespective of the economic situation. Right? So, now, liability. Consumer loans, unproductive real estate. There are also some real estate that are unproductive, so you don't need to go to unproductive real estate business. Then, consumer loans. Nigeria, why we are struggling in this country, and most African countries, imagine if a country borrows to pay salaries, borrows to pay bills, or you as an individual, you borrowed money to marry, you borrowed money to do wedding, you borrowed money to do something that, to buy something that you consume that cannot generate assets, that cannot generate, it's not an asset generating money, it's not an asset that generates money. Anytime you invest in consumables, take note that if you are not very careful, it's a very bad decision because it's a liability. We need to look at the economy where we can produce. If we are into a producing economy, if you borrow to produce, fine. Because if you borrow to produce, then you are going to make more money. After all, those who produce all these things we are using, some of them are owing banks, but the banks can easily give them more loans because they are making returns. They are producing and generating more money. So if you want to take financial decision that will lead to financial freedom, think of production. Think of buying assets that will keep generating money. It's important. So, next. Now, how do you build an asset base? How do you build an asset base? Because we are looking at, if you must be financially free, then there must be an asset, you must build an asset base. Anybody who did not build an asset base cannot enjoy financial freedom. So you track your income and expenses. You must be able to check your income and your expenses. You must be able to take this decision to how much you spend, how much you earn. If you spend more than you earn, you know you're going to run out. It's like in water, or when water discharges more than it charges, then the hole will be dry. The hole will be dry. So if you give out more than you earn, no matter what you are giving out, then already you know you are going to run dry. You are going to run into poverty. You are going to run into lack. You are going to run into stagnation. So there's no way you will be financially free without being able to have a track record of your expenses and your income. So make sure you don't spend more than you earn. Some people, when you pay them salary, they remember all the problems of their life. And they finish their salary even in a day or 2 days. And they will not wait for the next salary. They start borrowing and struggling and asking for help here and there. How do you want to be financially free when you spend all you earn once and you still have time? The time you have, you use it to borrow. When they pay you money, you now use it to settle debt. How long will you continue to live like that? If you continue to live like that, that means you cannot be financially free. It's important to invest in appreciating assets. Anytime you want to make an investment, don't be in a hurry. Make sure that your investment is to an asset that appreciates. If it's not an asset that appreciates, it's bad investment and will lead you to poverty. It's also important to turn skills into income-producing ventures. So many of us have been gifted with so many skills, natural skills, endowments, talents, and giftings that we can turn into become so resourceful. And God has been so kind to mankind by making sure that every aspect of our body is income generating. What it requires training and development. We call it human capital development. Human capital development is developing your body to earn money. If you develop your mouth, you earn money. It will pay your bills. If you develop your brain, it will pay your bills. Develop your hands into boxing, into anything that people use hands for. It will pay your bills. It will pay your rent. It will build houses and buy assets for you. Develop your legs. It will build assets and buy a lot for you. So what we are saying is, your body, your entire body system is capital. Your entire body system is capital. So whether you learn the skill or it's a natural talent in you, you can turn it to become resourceful. There are so many people who are poor, but there are so much gifted, and they're allowing their gift lie dormant. They're allowing their gift waste, and you're complaining. But you can plait hair. You're complaining, and you can play ball. You're complaining, and you can even entertain people. You know how much people do entertainment earns in the entertainment industry? They earn a lot. It's skill. So if you develop your skill, learn a skill, turn it into money, you'll be financially free. So I want to encourage you today that nobody is empty. God did not make anybody empty. Everyone is gifted.